Fyrakk is the final boss of Amirdrassil, the Dream's Hope. This is a 3-phase boss fight, with each phase being drastically different from the next. In phase 1, you're controlling the spread of fire pools, stopping them from reaching these roots up against the tree. In phase 2, you're protecting the spirits and helping them get through and restoring the tree, while trying to stop Fyrakk's forces from dealing damage to these spirits. Finally, in phase 3, you're just trying to take down this massive fire dragon, and you're trying to do everything that you can to stay alive throughout it, using some blessings from the aspects to get there. So let's break this whole thing down. On pull, you're going to grab him and pull him all the way to the edge. Some meteors will land, and then he will cast Wildfire. Every time Wildfire is cast, all current pools shoot out AoE of extra pools around them. This will spread the pools out, drastically increasing the amount of space that is currently burned. The raid needs to make sure that as many pools are as close to each other as possible, so when they spread, they're not doing a full circle around them and are instead overlapping heavily. Throughout this phase, debuffs are going to be going on to multiple players in the group. Healers need to be dispelling this debuff as often as possible. It continues to stack indefinitely, and is doing a lot of the damage that's going to soak up your mana. Periodically, the boss is going to do a Dream Rend. This tears a hole in reality, and everybody needs to run away from it. This is going to do massive damage to anybody that is nearby, and pulsing damage based off of how far away you are from it. Use a healer cooldown or an anti-magic shell to reduce the incoming damage. Everybody should stay away from the active tank. A tank effect that is a cleaved based effect goes onto the tank. At 2 stacks, the tanks are going to want to swap off with this debuff. This effect happens throughout the entire encounter, so be used to not standing on the active tank. When the boss begins a firestorm, red swirls are going to show up all over the place. At the same time, multiple raid members are going to get a red circle on them, and that's going to drop a meteor on their location. We need to stack those in all of the open slots in our firewall, overlapping as much of the firewall as possible with these meteors. We want to make sure that these aren't off in the middle of nowhere, because that will definitely spread the fire in unintentional ways. If the fire ever touches the roots along Amirdrassil's side, it is a raid wipe. Other than way more damage, the only difference on Heroic is the Blaze effect, which will go on to several raid members, and after a very short delay of 4 seconds, they will explode for a massive amount of damage. Everybody needs to get away from these players, and they need to coordinate somewhere to go so that your team doesn't die. This effect exists in all 3 phases, and he transitions into the Intermission at 70% HP. This is a DPS race because eventually you're going to run out of room if you can't push him to 70%. On the Intermission phase, Fyrakk smashes down on the middle of the arena. This will clear out all of the fire pools in that area and knock the entire raid up. At this point, he's going to be casting a long channel of Corrupt. The raid needs to DPS him down, destroying his shield before he finishes this cast. While he's channeling, he's also doing a big deep breath in front of him that will kill you if you walk into it. At the same time, each of the pools on the outer edge are going to be sending out these fire orbs towards the boss. You need to collect these orbs, each of which is going to put a debuff on you that deals damage over time. On Heroic, that debuff stacks, but on Normal, it's pretty easy to just have tanks run and soak as many of them as they can, while the DPS focuses on burning down the boss. If any of these orbs touch the boss, it's pretty much a raid wipe. When the phase ends, he knocks everybody back, and phase 2 starts. He's going to come slamming down on a section of the arena, killing anybody at that location. And then he'll leap to the current tank, and several spirits will spawn along the edge of the arena. This is the main part of this phase. Healers need to heal these spirits to full health, which will then make them immune to damage, and they can go and heal the world tree. As long as they're not healed to full, they do take damage from all effects on the map. So we need to make sure to heal them up quickly, while avoiding any of the effects targeting them. In this phase, he'll cast a greater firestorm that rains meteors all over the place, and then summons 2 large infernals, which will crash down on each of the tanks. Each of the tanks needs to pick up one of these infernals, and the group needs to burn them down, while healers continue to heal the spirits spawning along the edge. Partway through this phase, the boss will rush through the middle of the arena and do a massive fire breath, killing anybody along that section and summoning a bunch of fiery adds. These fiery adds need to be burned down ASAP. They can be interrupted to stop them from dealing damage, and if any of the spirits coming in from the outer edge touch one of these fiery adds, the spirit dies. We need to avoid this at all costs because we need as many spirits as possible to beat this fight. It's a great idea to put markers around the room and call out which marker adds are coming from. This is going to allow you to know which set of fire adds to prioritize taking down when they spawn. Nothing else is particularly new in this fight. It's the same tank mechanic of the cleave-based effect, and the debuff healers need to dispel are going to be constantly going out onto the raid members. The boss will do this Firestorm phase 2 times, and then he'll begin one more platform-based phase with some cleaves on the boss and another set of adds to heal before he transitions into phase 3. The lower you can have the boss's HP before phase 3 begins, the easier time you're going to have actually being able to beat this boss. This phase begins by him crashing down on the platform and knocking all the players up. You should immediately lust and get as much damage into him as you can before the difficult mechanics start. When the phase starts, 6 seeds are going to plant themselves around the room. Players can go pick up these seeds to move them, and if a seed ever takes damage from shadowflame effects, it explodes and begins radiating damage out onto the group. Your highest mechanically skilled players should be the ones that pick up the seeds, because those players need to avoid all of the shadowflame effects on this boss. This includes a deep breath, where the boss turns and does a massive breath, fire tornadoes that spin around the room, as well as fire meteors that come down on red swirls. Some players are going to get marked with red arrows. If a player holding a seed gets marked with the red arrow, they need to remove their seed buff to drop the seed on the ground and then run away from that location to make sure that they do not burn their seed. So why are we protecting these seeds anyways? Well, Fyrakk does an apocalyptic roar. This is going to do massive damage to everyone, and when it begins casting, everybody holding a seed gains a special action button. This will drop a pool on the ground, and anybody that touches that pool gets a massive shield. This will save you from the apocalypse roar. Now, you only get 6 seeds in this phase, so you need to plan out who is pressing their action button and dropping the seed. And every seed you lose due to damage reduces the chances you're going to be able to take out this boss, as you cannot survive the roars. Also in this phase, the boss will regularly stack a debuff on the tanks that does not go away. Tanks are going to need to swap back and forth using defensive cooldowns as these stacks ramp up and up and up. I hope this guide has helped you figure out how to take down Fyrakk, and you get your first kill on this flaming dragon. I'm Zesty Phresh from Games, and we'll catch you guys next time.